wise build bridges.
Welcome to the VG podcast, The Wise Build Bridges. I'm Noemi, Head of Marketing at Viaduct Generation, and I'm joined today by the incredible Thierry and Fabio and Dre, who are also from VG. On this special video episode, we are going to be talking all things entrepreneurship, being entrepreneurial.
Nice.
I'm very excited about today's episode, Thierry, because we've known each other actually since uni.
Since uni, yeah.
So it's kind of almost like a full circle moment. It feels like fate has brought us here today, which is super exciting. So yeah, let's get into it. There is a lot to get covered. Hopefully we're going to get it done in an hour. We haven't managed just yet, but we'll have a challenge. Just before that, a little reminder, please subscribe to us wherever you're listening to us on, whether it is on any kind of like audio platform or now on YouTube. So let's do this. So I mentioned obviously meeting you at uni, Thierry.
Yes.
And you were my supervisor when I was working at the union.
Venues.
And you brought an incredible amount of energy, which was very necessary when we were doing those like 4 a.m. cleanups. After everyone had come to fruity, like you need to have energy. Have you always been this way?
Yeah, I think so. I think I naturally have. I think I love being around people. Like it's clear. Like even when we met when I met the both of you guys at Brighton, like it was very obvious that once you meet somebody who is very like-minded, it's easy to bounce off. But also it's also by design. So I remember I read an article. I think it was literally at uni, and it was around the way we perceive ourselves and the words we use and how it actually frames who we become. So, for example. My sister, for example, would look in the mirror and be like, I look like crap, I feel like this, or look at this thing. But I was like, would you ever say that to your friend? No. And so then I made a very conscious decision to speak to myself in a way that always picks me up and gives me a certain level of energy. Yeah. And so then when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, and it could be honestly, like, you know, I went to bed 2 a.m. last night and I'm up for 6 a.m. for a train. And it would have been easy for me to just be like, ugh. But I just woke up and I went, this is going to be a sick day. You're going to meet your friends. You're going to talk, you know, to incredible people like yourselves. And it's going to be really inspiring. Right, let's get it. And it's weird how those words can really frame your attitude and your approach to the day.
I love that.
So I used to always just say that to myself. Like, even in those shifts, I'm like, so honestly, someone would throw up on me. I'm like, at least you didn't do X. So like, yeah, no worries, let's go.
Some protein on my body.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like it costs a lot of emotional energy to be negative. It's actually harder to be negative because you have to pick yourself out of the hole.
Yeah.
But if you never get in it, then But you know, not everybody has a choice. But if you do, if you do have a choice, then
I love that.
Think about design.
That's so cool, and I think that is a thing that people do talk a lot more about these days, about things like doing daily affirmations and things like that, where if you kind of speak it out, and I think also saying it out loud helps a lot. It's one thing to say it in your head, it's nothing to say it out loud, and to like actually like put yourself in that headspace.
Let me ask a question though. Is the person that's actually genuinely happy looking in the mirror being like, today's a great day, I am happy and healthy? Is the person who's actually happy doing that? Or is it like you just incorporate like a
Fake
positive,
it till you make it?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, but yeah, to an extent, it's interesting because then some people as well have asked me like, so does that mean we ever meet a genuine Thierry? Like, are you genuinely sad or whatever else? And I'm like, well, I don't aim to be sad. If anything, it's just a way of helping myself cope with the struggles of everyday life and knowing that I have the ability to regulate how I feel at any given point. So it's not even saying that like I'm never sad. Definitely, you know, I pick and choose my moments to be sad. Yeah. But I think that my purpose within friendship groups and groups of people is to be somebody. I'm not the person. It sounds really bad. I say it sometimes to my friends. I'm not the person you come to cry to. I'm the person where you're like, I'm sick to death of crying.
What are we doing next?
What are we doing next? Like, pick me out of this thing. And so then I've always been that friend. And I believe that is, God's honest truth, probably one of my purposes in life.
Yeah.
When I'm around people. And so then if I can continually do that, then people see me as that. Then people can really lean on me. And don't get me wrong, if and when I'm sad, then it's actually even more obvious. to people. Because they're like, are you okay?
Something
and then
so
actually,
different.
there's more support quite quickly because it's so contrary to.
Yeah.
You're very self-aware.
Honestly, I don't know. I think it's just through a whole heap of mistakes.
Yeah.
A whole heap of mistakes and a lot of feedback. Like my girlfriend now, she is, very open to just being like, you've been an idiot, and here's X, Y, and Z, Y. And I used to be quite hard-headed and be like, oh, you're an idiot. And I thought, actually, if I just listen for 2 seconds and actually don't reply, like take half an hour to reply, and actually sit in it, you get over the, oh, you're an idiot, and you go, I think maybe she might be right, and then you just start to maybe be a little bit more conscious, just because. Also, somebody who's perpetually happy is quite toxic sometimes, and it's not needed. Also, knowing when the appropriate time is to be that type of person for some people.
For sure. You're pretty good at that, Jure, in terms of like taking things on, like when someone's kind of giving you feedback about something, or like telling you about like what you've done that has maybe either like upset them or has been done like in a way that maybe they wouldn't want it. I think you're someone that's really easy to be like, hey, Jure, this is.
He's a very good listener, Dure is.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I think you have to be, right? You can't be a good salesperson if you're not a good listener. You have to be able to really understand what the customer wants. If you just, hey, buy my watch, like, man, I don't need a watch, I've got a phone, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, I never used to be. I used to be like really hot-headed. Yeah. Someone, like any kind of criticism, I used to be like, what? Me? What? But like, I think with a bit of maturity and a bit of like, maybe I think we do this, right? Like sometimes like we'll go through an L and we'll be like, okay, what's the lesson?
Yeah.
And Fabio's still pissed off. Fabio's like, listen, I'm not doing that. This bullshit. This is not fair. And I'm like, okay, but what's the lesson? What are we going to change to ensure that this never happens again? Okay, let's
analyzing the situation.
But this is the thing, though. It's separating. I think it's like I was really bad with feedback, and God's honest truth, up until probably like joining Journey Further, because a lot of the times. Sometimes people around you may have read me and went, actually, Thierry's such a perpetually happy person, I'll give him negative feedback, but he might not actually take it that well. And so they maybe avoided it. Whereas at Journey Further, we have a bit of a principle, like radical candor, depends if you've read the book, but the idea of challenging with care, so that, everybody invites feedback, but feedback is seen as a gift. And the feedback isn't an attack on your character. So if we're working on a project, and you go, that slide you put in there, shit, Thierry, like, you would never say it like that, but like, let's take this one out. It's not necessarily, slowing down the flow of the deck. It's not really in the story. Yeah. Instead of me taking that personally because it's the work that I've done, I separate myself. It's me and you against this thing to do it well together, as opposed to you are coming in to then criticize my character.
Completely. I feel like that's a huge thing that I had to do when I started working, I guess in more like corporate places, where you do on a very regular basis do receive feedback, especially when you're in junior positions. Like you are there essentially to learn, like especially when you're at the beginning of your career. And I do remember just taking everything so personally, and then but then also seeing that other people were also getting feedback and how they were reacting to it, and seeing that they were open to it. And because definitely, I mean, I guess we've all gone through it in terms of like that defensiveness. But then it was something that was very valuable for me, because then it was this idea of like, we're trying to get to this end point, we're all trying to do it in a successful way, and this is how we're going to get there, rather than and also you don't want to do something right till the end to then get the feedback at that point. Like you might as well get it earlier, so that make sure that everyone has that same vision or end goal. And
it allows you to also say, like, for example, like there's a project I'm working on right now as well, and it allows you to, because you see the task as a thing that you're both completing, it means that it gives you the ability to go, I'm struggling as well with this thing, like I just can't crack this thing, it's annoying me, it's taking too long, it's whatever not, because you're not complaining about yourself if you know that you've put that effort in. It's more so that object, that thing, I just need help on.
For sure. I want to touch back on this energy that you radiate, because honestly at Brighton, like, I kind of knew you were that guy, but I did not realise you were that guy. Like, people were literally, like, queuing to, like, talk to you, or, like, we couldn't walk more than, like, 10 seconds down the street without someone saying hey to you. How do you kind of find that? Is that something that you really enjoy? Is that something that you cultivate. How have you become that guy, Thierry?
Yeah, so so I've had that question before as well, where it's more sort of like some people see like being surrounded by people all the time as well a bit of a drain, because obviously I feel like it's an energy exchange with people, so you're giving and they're taking, etc. when you're like engaging with people. But like I went to like 8-9 schools when we moved to the UK. Yeah, so then
why did you go 8-9 schools?
We just moved around a lot. So like I came from Rwanda when I was like 4.
Yeah.
We've lived everywhere from like 3 different places in London, Nottingham, Stockton-on-Tees, Bradford, Leeds, etc. I was always used to being detached from a certain group and then put into somewhere where I'm completely new. Like even for secondary school as well, like my dad was like, "Oh, you could go to the sixth form there, but there's a better secondary school than Leeds, and you're going to go." And I was like, "I don't know anyone." And he's like, "It doesn't matter. You're going to go." And so, yeah, it made you have to really love being around people and introducing yourself and hearing what their stories are and things like that. Like, to be honest, it could have gone the opposite way. Like, I could have become a really kind of shy and inward type of individual. But as a kid who loves sports and play and things like that, it's a team mentality as well. So you have to get involved. So even when I'm talking to people, at the same time as well, the other side of the coin is because in the industry and like growing up, I felt like people who got to the positions we all sit in today didn't give us a time of day.
No.
And so then you barely ever spoke to them. They're like, "I don't want to speak to them." And they walk through and you're like, "Oh, that's so.
Yeah.
Whereas like I was like, no, like absolutely speak to me, ask me anything. That's why in any of my talks I'm like, listen, tweet me, DM me, whatever it takes. I might take a couple of days to come back, but I will always come back with an answer in some way, shape or form. And just giving people time. Regardless of what it is, and I'm always happy for a chat, man.
That was definitely something that I really appreciated when we were kind of first starting out with VG, when I first kind of reached out to you. Like, you were so ready to give us time, and at the time, you know, we were looking at Rise and we were like, oh my god, the big boys, like but it was so nice to be able to have that. And then it also made approaching other people a lot easier as well. It was like, okay, if Thierry that I can see is so busy, is giving me the time of day, that means probably this person might be able to give me the time of day. Or like kind of through association as well, of being like, well, I've spoken to this person, so that kind of puts me on a level.
And fair dues, because Ken Wright did the same for me as well. Yeah. In my first Brighton SEO, where it's just me and Danny, and he was doing main stage, I was like, I didn't even know like Rise and 7 at the time. I was just like at Brighton SEO, it was like, I think we'd been running for like, we had 4 people in the whole company, right? Like we were just there.
3-4 months at a time.
And we were like, he did the main stage, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And I DM'd him straight away while he was still on stage, and he DM'd me back like, do you want to go for a beer now? And I was like,
that's
yeah,
so
cool.
Yeah.
And he sat with me for 20 minutes and we had a good old chat with it, and it was really good. But I really resonate with what you were saying about like you switch schools quite often, and that inspires like your social skills. Yeah. Because you're like, you know nobody, so you're like, well, if I'm going to be friends, I'm going to have to learn how to make friends. You know what I'm saying? And you did it 8 times. Yeah. That was why you're that guy. I only did it 2-3 times. I don't know how many times you did it.
I've done it quite a few times. It's changing countries as well. I don't know, like Lisbon to Barcelona, Barcelona to here. Don't know, like 4 or 5 times.
You don't have a choice.
I didn't. Uni was the first time I did it.
In school, you have to. It's the jungle. Yeah. School is the jungle. I literally the other day when I went to do a talk at our old high school, and I was walking through the playground, and like the way children talk to each other, I was like, I actually forgot. It's the jungle. It's actually the jungle. You have to survive. Honestly, you have to survive.
But like, it's also, I think it's a cultural thing as well, because I think that Western society, I feel like we're pushed to be quite individualistic. Yes. You know, mind your own business. I was here, not a single person uttered a word to me in the entire time I was on the tube today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, well, until you go north and then people don't shut up. But I think it's a very Western thing to be individualistic, because you'll notice that when people move to this country, and are like within the year of them moving, they're really like, hey, how are you? You okay? What are you up to? What's going on? And you're kind of like, can you not see I'm on my phone? Why would you be talking to me right now? And so then I think it's very much a cultural thing, because even people that are really like warm, etc., that come down then to London, they're gonna go, oh well, that's just London, so no one speaks to each other, and we all kind of get a bit in our own bubble and a bit lonely. Do you know what I mean? And for me, I'm just at home. You know, we're Rwandans at core. Like at home, we don't speak English. We speak Rwandan. We eat African food. The culture's very much there. Like we are the house that people come to. Like my house even has a toilet sign on one of the doors to make sure that people know where they're going. That's how many people are coming through our house. But I spent more time sleeping downstairs on the sitting room airbed than I did in my own room because we constantly had cousins and family and everybody. Like if you were passing through anywhere we lived, you knew that there'd be a plate of food or something ready for you when you come through. So it's very much the culture I grew up around as well.
For sure. Which segues very nicely to your podcast that you have. Why Didn't You Tell Me?
Yes.
Honestly, I watched like the first episode and I was like, yeah.
I love that.
I get it. I really get it. Like, how did that all come about?
Yeah, so it all, as with a lot of like movements as such, it was like something really poignant that happened in society, and it was the murder of George Floyd. And what happened there, what I quickly saw is, I've grown up in a predominantly white demographic, and so what I was seeing on my social channels was a few mistakes being made, not because of any malicious intent, but just purely not knowing the culture or even what's going on within that demographic of people. And so then it was when everybody was posting the black square, for example.
Yeah.
So then I was like, actually, this is really counterintuitive because what you're doing is actually censoring the feed. So if you're hashtag BLM, for example, if I now go on there, it's just all black squares. You're actually censoring the feed, so we can't see any news, etc. And it's just all black squares. It's like digital censorship, quite literally. So then I just made a bit of a point about it. People were like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. And then I jumped on Insta Live and I thought, let's just do an Insta Live where two young black men just talk to each other, everybody else can watch, and we'll answer questions that have come in. And there is no embarrassment in any way, shape or form. Ask everything from, why you shouldn't say the N-word, why you shouldn't do this, why does this happen, why is this insensitive, should I say this thing like this? And we just had a full-blown conversation on it. And it did really well. We spoke at a couple of companies, spoke about a couple of schools as well. And then I thought, oh, actually, there's maybe some content we can put out here. And so then we, named it Why Didn't You Tell Me? Because ultimately, a lot of times, it's actually just not knowing for certain things. And so we went wider than just the black community or the African diaspora. We went around and we talked about everything from like finance to mental health. Like I didn't even realise my friend had a panic attack until he said it on the episode. Like,
wow.
And we've been friends for time, and it was just. And the only reason I asked those two to be on there as well was they were the only two people that could promise me to be truthfully honest, like brutally. And I said, I'm going to ask everything: your relationships, your family, your finance, everything. We have an episode where we talk about how I was in 15 grand's worth of debt. Yeah. And it's like, I have no fear in talking about that, and I wanted them to have that too. Because people benefit from, I think that sometimes we're all actually maybe suffering from a very similar thing, but because we don't say anything about it, it just proliferates and takes us all. And so then that's where I was like, actually, no holds barred. There probably isn't anything anybody could ask me and I wouldn't tell you the truth. So why not?
I think we're all living we're all watching everyone else live their social media superstar life. Yeah. So when you're eating your beans on toast, or when you're looking at your bank account going, I can't go into the sky, like Sky Gardens, my bank account's looking tight, then you feel worse about it, right? But if you have someone that goes, oh yeah, I've been through that, I understand where you're coming from, then that can ease your fears on it.
It really does, and it's particularly as well like the younger, the young black men in my, because I just feel like society has put especially with social media, it's probably perpetuated by ourselves, to be honest. It might not even just be society, but we're almost like all showing, as you say, highlight reels of each other's lives. And so, like, for example, I just got a new car. I bought a Merc, put it on social media, no context. So everyone's thinking, big man, hey, do not Mercedes. But then what they don't see is the fact that my credit score was so shite that I got rejected by 2 finance providers, and so then had to go to a worse one. So then my car finance is like 14%, right? Until I have 6 months on, and then you can go refinance, etc. That's ridiculous. So then I was paying £400, but I'm paying now £600 for a car. Do you know what I mean? £200 more because I was an idiot at uni. And it's just little things like that where I'm like, I would tell, honestly, anyone who will listen, because I'm like, this is nuts. and it's exactly that. And I wouldn't also know about the whole refinancing option had I not complained to people about it, and they go, actually, do you realize you can refinance? And I'm like, damn, I didn't know that was a thing.
For sure.
And so there's a certain exactly. Honestly, sometimes complaining about something or being brutally honest about something gives you more answers because somebody goes, actually, no, that was. But if I kept that to myself, I'd have sat on that 600 pound L for time.
No, for sure. And well, actually, I did do a little digging on your LinkedIn, and I saw that you'd also been a mentor with the Leeds City Council, which is something that I also did actually in my first year. Yeah, at uni. It was I don't know how I got involved, but I did. I turned up. I did a training, and I went to Notre Dame. That's why I did my mentoring.
You just follow him.
Yeah, something like that. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Like,
that was a really good program. I'm not quite sure what ended up happening to it, but
me neither.
You basically got like
started and then
you were given a child in secondary school, and then you would go. I think it was like once a week or once every 2 weeks, and you just spend time with them talking about anything. So they could bring their homework. They could, we could read a book together. They could ask you certain questions and things like that.
That's amazing.
It was sick.
And it was like an element of that, right? Of like being able to, and also the schools that they placed you in were schools where typically kids were struggling a bit more or weren't, in the best kind of financial, like their families or things like that. So
that's amazing.
It was quite cool because it was this idea that as uni students, we were kind of showing them this alternative way or this other way that they could go or kind of give them those options.
Wow.
And it was cool. Like I remember I was mentoring this girl that was doing her GCSEs and she just needed to get her C in maths. Like, that was the thing that was going to hold her back, like, if anything. And I remember pushing her for it, but then getting an email that she'd got a B, and I was so chuffed. I was so happy about it. And it's like these kind of small things, and you've just shown someone a different option. Absolutely. You've shown someone, you've opened someone's eyes to things, and it can feel so simple. Like, I even felt it when I even joined like the corporate world. I've said it before, like not many of my family members are in corporate. A lot of them are creative or like teachers and stuff like that. And so I didn't really know what it meant to be in an office. I didn't really know what you did. I didn't really know like what the possibilities were in terms of the roles and like I felt like I got lucky that I kind of fell into marketing, as I think a lot of us do. But yeah, like if I'd had someone who'd maybe been that person for me, maybe I would have got to places quicker, or I would have been more certain in my decisions at times as well.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's exactly where we're kind of trying to take that podcast as well. And it's an element of like, Felix and Tinashe. So Felix, he works in the pharmaceutical world. Tinashe works in the pharmaceutical world. Felix is very much in project development and that kind of music industry, fashion and things like that. And so then whenever we are chatting to like young individuals, there is somebody who you can kind of relate to as well. And we're also not the atypical of what you would have in said industry. And so then it gives them an essence of going, wait, you can be there. Oh, sick. Then I'll give it, I'll try and run through, because they can see yourselves in there. Whereas, I've been to many agencies, many companies, and a large proportion of the time, I've always been the only black senior individual, regardless of gender or whatever else, or sexuality or anything else that comes into it. And so then it was quite hard to, see something and think you can be it. You just have to kind of just go in head first. And
has that ever actually put you off doing things? Because I know, for example, when I was interviewing for roles, the first thing I would do is look at their website and I would see who's in a senior team or who their advertising is at the company. And if I generally see no one that looks like me, I'm out. Like, I don't even try. Like, not so much in the fact that I don't think I would get it, but it's more that once I'm there, I don't know that I'm having that great a time. Like, but then it takes one person, right? There has to be one person that does do it. But
this is the thing in life as well, like, I think sometimes we, like, even when the Black Lives Matter movement was like, in full swing, certain people within your own demographic will point at you being like, I haven't seen you like or share or whatever else. Sometimes you fight your own fight in a certain way, right? So from your perspective and that kind of going into somewhere and being that diverse individual or the first person that they've had to that nature, sometimes you're like, I ain't got the energy. Do you know what I mean? I ain't got time to fight like that. My fight isn't there. That's not the way I want to fight. I'll fight somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? Like you shouldn't have to have a hard life just because. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? To fulfill a certain prophecy that you should do or whatever. Whereas for my nature, that's my type of fighting. You know, I'm not the individual who will write something incredible or do an amazing video or write a book or galvanize, people in a completely different way. My thing is just quite literally existing. I just go into a space where no one else is on purpose. So if I actually look at it and go, that whole board is there's no one there that represents me, that's when I actually knock on and go, hey, by the way, did you realise that no one in there looks like me and you could benefit from X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. That's literally what I was just thinking. It's almost like capitalizing on the situation, right? Like I feel like I'm quite similar to that. Like even when I started in SEO and the industry as a whole, really, or even earlier you were talking about like going into like meetings or like companies and being part of like the senior leadership teams and being the only black person. I feel like that used to happen to me so much. As a matter of fact, it was one of the reasons why I decided to start VG. Yeah. But it's true, like I feel like I'm very similar to you, even though I'm quite vocal, and perhaps I do fit in some of, I do tick some of the boxes that you're just saying about pointing at people saying I haven't seen you speaking about it. But I'm also someone that I like being in positions where, like honestly on my Twitter, I fight against so many Spanish racist people. Yeah. I was born in Spain, so it's always me. I mean, I grew up in a place like that, right? I grew up in a society where my family, literally my stepdad, my mom and I were the only non-white people in the whole town. 18,000 people. So like being in companies like that here is almost like...
Yeah, maybe that is what makes the difference.
Absolutely.
It's the fact that I've obviously grew up in London where it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly like you are that person.
It definitely is a bubble.
And then you're just like, what?
It really, really is. Because even sometimes... It's really interesting because it almost feels like I've been sometimes indoctrinated. Because I come down to London, I'm like, yo, there's a lot of black people. There's so many black people. I'm not... Because up north, I know them all. And they know me. Every one of them. What are you saying? I'm cool. What are you saying? Even when you move in, I know before you even moved in. Whereas in London, it's like, the shopkeepers, the shop owners, the business owners, I'm like... But it's weird. I don't know why it sounds so bad, but I'm like, I feel a bit like, taken back.
I like being up north too long, but it's time for you to come back.
No, that's what happens to me when I go to Barcelona.
When I come back here from Barcelona, I'm like, wow, this is incredible.
You see the contrast? Like, literally, I go to Barcelona and I'm like, there's so many black people now, Then Noemi comes back from Barcelona as well. She's like, oh yes, finally more black people.
I've had to make a conscious effort, like even with the podcast as well, like those two boys, I've made a conscious effort to keep those relationships and keep those relationships with people that look like you and have, an understanding of the wider world, the Western world, but also an understanding from a cultural perspective that no one else could maybe understand, and really make sure I look after those relationships because in past, as I say, like moving schools, you just took anyone you could at that point. And just I'll grab a couple of people just to feel safe and to be part of that kind of a tribe. So then as I've grown up and you've got more control now and a bit more stable in my location, I've then gone, right, okay, let me actually cultivate relationships now, make a physical and formal effort to be friends with people. But man, it's hard. Like there's no... Workplaces are, we've got a long way to go. But... You've got to imagine as well, like for a large proportion of demographics, like I'm a firstborn immigrant. And so then this is probably touching on the entrepreneurial side of things as well. And I think as firstborn immigrants too, or people who have maybe not even grown up in this country, do you know what I mean? And you're the first version of your people within this country, right? You almost see, there's no comfortability. You're not settled. You're constantly like trying to achieve more. And because there is no sense of ownership, like it feels like you don't own anything here and you're constantly borrowing things or you're a visitor. And so then we end up becoming entrepreneurs because we want to own something that we can say, this is our stake in the ground and this is our thing here and this is my piece of the pie that I've contributed to the table.
I hear that.
Yeah. Oh, you're blowing my brain out here a little bit.
It's like, is this my life? Is this why I do
like, what else is going to happen? What else is going to happen? Tell me. Like, that's,
Yeah. Cool. No, but that's interesting because that was a conversation that we had at Brighton. I think all three of us, maybe even all four of us, when we were talking about when you do look at entrepreneurs, and we were saying when we look across lots of different industries, even within the UK, that is a relatively, I guess, forward country when it comes to like race relations to an extent, obviously. But we were saying there are so few visible black entrepreneurs and that it is not necessarily our responsibility, but is part of us. Like, we are that generation now that can be part of that change. And obviously that's kind of part of the reason you founded VG in the first place.
Absolutely.
Like, you did some research, you didn't find any black people. You're like, I'll be that person then.
Yeah.
And now you're doing that as well.
Yeah.
In many a venture that we can't quite keep up, but the most recent one, peanut butter.
Yes. So I've always my purpose, to be honest, whenever I'm creating anything, is I make things that me and my friends like. That's I think that's my North Star, because if I venture out of it, then it's pointless. There's no passion to it, and I don't really see a problem. And so then, anytime there's a thing that me and my friends like or want, and it's not there or it's not done to a certain extent, I'll do it. I'll figure out a way of doing it. Like, I have no idea about making peanut butter. Like, like even sitting here now, like, you know, I'm not a self-proclaimed peanut butter expert in any way, shape, or form. But I eat.
But please do buy his peanut butter.
Yeah, but like I eat enough peanut butter to know what is shit and what isn't.
Yeah.
And if I went and I looked and I said, and I looked at I went to go buy some peanut butter and I looked and there is so many products here, but there's no like brand loyalty at all. And if you look at milk before, you know, Oatly and Arla and everything else, you just went red top, blue top, green top. You didn't care about, but it was different farms, but no one gave a shit because there wasn't anything there that really had a purpose behind it. And then until Oatly and that came around, and they had a real story and they galvanized people and were like, actually, this is what we should be doing. But then no one was doing that in the peanut butter industry. Like, there's a couple of cool brands, you know, your Pippin Nuts, your Manny Lives and things like that are like quite cool and young. But peanut butter is one of those industries where most people I spoke to couldn't name 3 brands. And if you think about it from a sector, like there's not many sectors where you can't name 3 top playing brands.
Yeah.
And the fact that they couldn't do that, I was like, spot on. That is quite literally a mark in the ground right there. And so then when I did my research there, I wanted simplicity. I just want to know what's in my food. It's just pure and simple.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool, can we not just have peanuts and a bit of salt? Yeah. Well, why is no one doing that then? So then I was like, I don't know.
It's
cool,
a simple question,
so I was
really.
like, cool, right, we'll make a very simple peanut butter. And the reason I've kind of I forged it as like, you know, a nut butter for a new generation is that because I also wanted to say something. I also wanted to stand up for something. Like, you will never see my peanut butter in Asda and Morrison's, etc. Because once you're in those places, any political or social, economic thing that happens and you have an opinion about it, you can't say it because you sit under the umbrella. I mean, you're embarrassing Asda, you're embarrassing Morrison's or whatever they stand for. So you almost can't by the nature of being there. And so then for me, I have no fear if it crashes and burns. I don't really care. I said something. And so then, there's once again, it's that sense of ownership, right? Where if you own something, then I can say whatever I want. And, you know, it's not like I've got any extreme views. So that's where Mother Nutter kind of came from.
So what's the strategy then? So you're not going wholesale, you're not going grocer. How are you gonna?
SEO exists, man.
Good at SEO, is it? Oh, interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah, we're just gonna go D2C. We're gonna go D2C. I've committed 10% of the profits will go to charities that help with sustainability as well, because I understand that producing nuts is fracking like it contributes in its own way. But that won't be chosen by me as well, because there's no greenwashing in that. It'll be chosen by our customers, who will let me know where they want me to put that money. Straight D2C. I'm going to do quite a lot of influencer-based work as well. But when I say influencer, it's that I want it to be a vehicle to support certain things. So, like, you know Lisa Hoey?
Yes.
Lisa, we went to university together.
Yeah.
She started a thing called like Lisa Living, where she quite literally just energizes and exercises people, shows them how to work out, does it online. Instagram did it for free all over lockdown and things like that. And she's really quite health conscious. And she's veg and vegan at times as well, and so then for her it's a struggle to find certain products. And so then I'll be like, right, well, what is it that, how can my peanut butter help spread your message a bit wider? Is it products you need, is it funding that you need to get that kind of health and well-being message out there? So we can start backing initiatives that are actually worthwhile.
That's cool.
So whether it is another, young kids who want to start their own podcast or whatever else, cool, let's buy you some mics, you know what I mean? And get you guys set up and things like that. So it just has a little bit more purpose. Innovation is one thing that doesn't happen in the peanut butter industry. So outside of like almond butter, cashews or whatever, which is the same thing, the people have jumped on like Malteser peanut butter, like, boring. So then I'm going to do a lot of peanut butter innovation. So I had like a jelly, I tried to do peanut butter jelly, and I was like, this jelly is shit and it's full of E numbers. I said, what can we not make a jelly that's good? And they're like, and I spoke to Jake, the chef that I work with, super smart dude, and he was like, yeah, we'll just strip it back and just be like raspberry and jam and just make a really good raspberry and jam. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Cool. We've got a raspberry and jam for peanut butter coming out.
You're making it sound so
banana.
easy. Maybe I'll also start something.
It's just anything that pisses you off, you could just.
I love that.
Monetize
If you can piss it off, if you can piss you off, just
Fix it. Make something better.
Yeah.
Actually, why is this thing? Yeah, you can fix it.
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's very exciting.
That's cool. And what are the other things you've got going on?
Sweets.
And also, how do you have the time?
Yeah, no, but this is what people are asking me as well. Like, how do I have time? But I think in a lot of, like, you guys will know more so than me in terms of when you wanted to succeed or having something to grow. Actually, it's not you working harder. It's you admitting that you're not the right person to do it and bringing the right people in to do so.
Yeah.
And so then I am the dumbest person in every venture I get into, because I'll bring together a couple of people who are experts in their field in production, in manufacturing, in branding, etc. I could never have put together that entire branding of the peanut butter on my own. Impossible. Yeah, so then I had to have some really intelligent people around me to do that. And so then I galvanize the people, tell them my idea and set them off in a direction and come back and check in and make sure that, you know, we're keeping the ethos. And if anything, I step back and become almost like a brand ambassador, as opposed to somebody who's like in it every single day. But yeah, it's just admitting I'm not the person to drive it.
You know, it's interesting. So, like, going back to when you like went to schools, and that's what made your social skills so good. That's how you can relate to people so well. And now look at you. You're playing central midfield and numerous, like, you're just pulling strings. Oh, what, you're good at that? Sick. Okay, you play up front. Oh, you're brilliant. Oh, great, you do that. And that, like, how that has inspired you to
Delegation is key in business.
Yeah.
Delegation is key. It's one of the main things I realized, to be honest, is like the moment you realize that you can't do everything on your own, and the moment you realize that you have so much to do, and you're like, you know what? I trust you because you're better than me in this.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, that is not a weakness. I
It's
think
not at all.
maybe it is. That is also kind of part of, like, I don't know, the society that we're kind of in at the moment is that you should be able to do everything to perfection, or to, you know, and you should be on top of it, and, you know, and when actually a lot of the people that seem the most on top of it is because they've got the most support around them, and they've got people that are helping them and that are guiding them or advising them, like all of those things. And that is important to lean into. And then if anything, and I think then it works both ways, right? If you're able to show weakness, then other people will be able to do that back to you, and then you can help someone else, like where your skills are better placed than theirs.
Exactly that. And so then that's in any venture, I'm coming up with an idea or whatever else, like I'll do the initial research, but absolutely my first thing immediately is let's get an MVP. And let me get a team of people I can inspire to really go on this journey with me. Yeah. So then, like, the other ones, we've got Cafe Patron pulled their tequila. So we created one. So we've got coffee caramels called Black Knights. It's quite cool.
Why did they pull it? I'm so confused.
Well, when I had a word with the guys there, they said it's because it was so popular that the sales were impeding their premium products, because it was actually quite a low tier item. But I think they've underestimated the cultural influence it had.
Honestly.
Yeah. So we created one. It's delicious. I'll send you guys a couple of bottles. Please. Yeah. And then the last one, I work in threes. The last one is the one I think is going to make one of the greatest impacts is handbags. So, I just watched.
I do actually remember talking about this.
I watched my girlfriend, my sister, and a lot of my female friends and the way they interact with fashion, and we're getting to a really pivotal point now where, like, you know, ASOS can say, "Oh, we've made 20 million quid in Black Friday," but they can't say that yet because of the amount of returns that are going to have to come back. And what happens to the returns? They get put in landfill. And so then I thought, surely there's got to be a solution around this. And so then I went out there and I discovered the whole pre-loved movement. I was like, oh, this is sick. Like, there's a lot of companies doing this kind of stuff. But then even then, it only serves one demographic. So I had a little look and I thought, right, how do I get an MVP out? So I looked and I thought, right, how about if I did a dress? I was like, okay, dresses doesn't fit everybody. Rip stains, cool, probably not that. Shoes the same as well. Accessories in a similar fashion as well, lost, ripped. And I thought handbags is the only thing. It's similar to watches that occupies a certain level of luxury and looking afterness in our brain where we kind of do give a shit about where it goes and where we put it and things like that and whether we knock it and stuff.
Yeah.
And so then I bought 2 handbags. I did a bit of research, so I scraped all handbag rental sites. I looked at the most popular that returns a certain amount within a certain rental period so that I can get my money back as quick as possible and its popularity. Bought those 2, but I realised one of them doesn't exist in the UK, so I was like, okay, that's uniqueness. Flew it in from France. Flew it in. Came through the post.
Sounds pretty fluid.
Yeah, flew it in.
We'll cut that last part in.
Yeah, brought it in and then put it at rental. We made my money back in 8 rentals, which happened over the course of like 2 months. So I thought there's a real idea here, but once again, everybody's already doing it because I was doing it on someone else's website. So then I thought, okay, I'm still not answering the problem of yes, somebody can rent this from me, but they still then send it back, etc. But they're not the problem. Like my girlfriend, my sister, etc. They're not the actual problem. The problem is actually influencers. But influencers aren't the problem in the same sense I say problem. In my head, they're a solution. They have no choice but to produce like 4 or 5 pieces of content every single week. They don't have a choice. It's their life. It's their job. So why has nobody created a business that is completely aimed and tailored at the fact that everything they have can be returned? Because they have to play these games where they start accounts and like buy stuff and send it back or make sure it's gifted, etc. So I was like, what? It's always aimed at like my girlfriend and my sister. Why isn't it just aimed purely at influencers? And then it just happened to be that my girlfriend, my sister, etc. can rent from us. So then I was like, okay, let's create that product. And so then Handle was born. And it is going to be a influencer first way of answering the problem of landfill and clothing and fashion. And the idea is that it's purpose built for them to pick all your clothes you want, cool, send them back to me, it's a purpose, we'll look after them, we'll fix whatever needs to be fixed, but it's built with sustainability right at the beginning, not like by mistake.
That's what I was going to say, is 2 out of 3 of your companies have very much like the whole sustainability in your mind.
I think as we start, especially as marketers as well, like we work in e-com, you kind of start to, dare I say, like feel bad sometimes of like some of the brands maybe I work with where I'm like, oh man, I'm pushing a product. I'm not.
You become aware. You become really
the impact
aware
of this is a bit.
For sure.
Yeah, and it's almost like it sounds really bad as well, but it's like me taking that guilt I feel and trying to answer it in another way.
It's a certain type of motivation, isn't it?
So then I'm like, shit. Of all the guilt that I feel for it, I'm like, God, here we go.
Yeah.
Right, let me solve and answer something for it. And pay for my dues. But yeah, ideally by design.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just been watching Jeray's face. He's gonna like come with like 2 new business ideas by the end of the week. He's like, Thierry's doing so well.
Honestly, I have sunk a lot of money. Not a penny has come back, but that's not the point. If they all fail, brilliant. I'll be back here with another 3. That's not the point.
I think what's really interesting is the way that you've got about like sourcing your ideas for your business ventures. I think there's something in terms of like you've gone and like you've essentially looked at the data, which I guess is almost like reflective of your everyday, right? and you found those gaps, and then you said, "Let me be the solution."
And it doesn't have to be a big gap. This is the thing. I feel like people like want to solve world hunger and stuff like that, but honestly, peanut butter. Do you know what I mean?
That's where it's at.
Honestly, just a very simple. It doesn't matter how many times someone else has done a certain thing. It is, you know what I mean? Like, there's always a spin that you can have on your own. And sometimes you might make exactly the same product, but you just have a better way of saying it and your message is just far clearer.
100%.
Or, you know what? You might even... There's one dude, so envious. There's this guy who was selling peanut butter, right? Genius. What he was doing, he'd sell it for 1 day a month. 1 day, you can only buy it 1 day.
Creating that over
That
the
power of scarcity.
But
Sold out every
do you
single
know
time.
what? It's like what Thursday has done with the dating apps.
And I was just like... It's not like he's revolutionised peanut butter, he's using anything new or whatever. It doesn't matter. He makes really quite novel, unique flavours and stuff like that. But the fact that you can only get it on that Thursday alone, even I'm like,
I need it.
I straight up messaged him. I said, "Listen, you don't know who I am. But I just want to let you know that is sick."
Incredible. Right, we did promise an hour, so we have come to like the last bit. So traditionally we close off the podcast with a bit of a game. Ooh. It is typically like a repurposed drinking game that I have then made
if only we had some tequila.
If only somebody had created tequila.
It's for the next one. It's for the next one. But yeah, so and then I tried to repurpose for podcast.
Nice.
Suitability. We started with this game, so we're started the season with this game, so we're gonna end with this game. Nice. This is gonna be quite interesting because I guess the guys don't know you as well, or you guys don't know each other as well. We're playing most likely to.
Oh God.
So I've got a couple of statements I'm gonna bring up, and then so we can do something appointing, but also we do still need to be auditive because this will be on those platforms. So the first one is most likely to. Oh wait, first of all, between the four of us, between the three of you.
No, get in here. Come on.
Getting in. Okay. Right. Okay. So most likely to do stand up. 3, 2, 1. Point.
Ooh,
and
interesting. Yeah, you fancy it.
I did it as a way to get over stage fright.
You've done it?
Yeah, I tried it.
How did it go?
Shocking.
How did you find it?
I was awful, but it was just a way of getting over, not even stage fright, just the fear of speaking in front of people. I just turned up to open mic sessions and then you just speak.
I never would have put you down for being scared of speaking.
So there's a difference between like speaking like 30 people in a classroom, like that and you spend every day with, but straight like 6 strangers, you're like, oh my God, and then 8 strangers, and then 20 strangers, and then 200 strangers, you're like, oh my God. So I just wanted to not be afraid, and sometimes you can hear it in someone's voice when they're speaking. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel it every time. Like I'm just trembling.
We can hear like bubbling. It's not their fault. It's just quite literally just muscle memory.
Yeah,
I rate that. I did a talk.
You'd be sick as well, actually.
I'd really like to. The problem is I'm not that funny.
What?
So
I think
then Noemi's like, no, you like, that's true.
I tend to agree.
I think you've got potential, Dre. I think you've got strong potential.
Public speaking, absolutely.
I love public speaking, but stand-up comedy is going to be like, it's stand-up, so no comedy there.
I feel like it would be like the really like blatant obvious ones where it's like boom boom.
Some one-liners.
I think wit. Yeah, I think wit.
Dad joke. Or like picking someone out in the crowd and just going in on them.
I think I should give it a go. I'm gonna. Scary, but honestly, no better rush.
Yeah, and then like I can just invite VG and Jodie further and be like, hey guys, I've got 25 seats available because it's a 30-seater, so can you please come in?
Maybe even try it as like at your work too. Just like don't tell no one. Just take a little like 15-minute segment and just crack jokes. Just as an intro.
Wait till people are like, it's safe to read.
Okay, great. Next one. Most likely to win the lottery.
Ooh.
Ready?
Yeah.
Oh.
3, 2, 1.
I was going to say Fabio.
I can't lie, I'm a very lucky person.
Lucky guy.
I find money on the floor all the time, bro.
All time. How many celebrities
20 grand on the floor and I won't see it. I don't know what it is with me in life. It's just not my thing.
No?
I find so much money, bro. Like, it was one time we came out of a club, I found £100 in 20s. I looked at my friends, I was like, fine, £20 each. Let's go.
Yeah.
That is.
I bump into so many celebrities all the time. It's really weird. I'm a lucky person.
Me and Money have like if I won. In fact, I remember I got £700 tax rebate, and then I got a £700 bill. That's my life with money. Like it's like it knows. It's like to the penny. But I guess. It's the way you look at it. Lucky if I hadn't got the tax rebate.
It all evens out. Okay, next one is most likely to write a book. Right, 3, 2, 1.
We all gone
Different. Okay. For those that are just listening to us out there, Fabio is pointing at Thierry, Thierry's pointing at me, and I'm pointing at Dre.
And I'm pointing at Noemi.
Oh, so I get 2 points.
Yeah,
Fabio's not writing a book.
I'm gonna make someone else do it. Me,
cheeky ghostwriter. No, I said Dre. I don't know. I feel like you would give like a business book, like how I made my first million.
Yeah, I think I've read like exclusively non-fiction self-help books for the last like 10 years. Like when people are like quoting it, I'm like, ooh, maybe it was like, have you heard of Blinkist? You tried this before? It's like they summarize an entire book in like a 10-minute podcast. And you can just be like, okay, on the train, I'm going to listen to like three key, and it like highlights all the key
Our
points.
book club does that as well. They give you the hot takes.
That's valuable, but I'm totally addicted to the entire self-help community. So if I were to write one, it would definitely be along those lines. It's not going to be like, let me tell you about this magical story. No way. It's like, it's not going to happen.
I thought Thierry, because I just thought it's the next step for you.
No, God's honest truth. I am an awful writer. I'm an awful reader.
Right with people.
I'm just so bad. I'm so bad at it. And I don't think I have anything to say that can span more than a page, to be honest with you. So then it's just a bit like... Whereas I thought with yourself, any genre, I reckon you could like. I'm gonna write about,
Yeah, Naomi can do pretty much everything. To
from culture to self-help to business.
Yeah.
I feel like you've got it. And I'd read it.
so
And I'd read
nice.
it. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I'll think about it. I'll consider
You've actually got scripts.
Do you want to get into publishing, Thierry?
What's the problem with books? Paper cuts.
I was speaking to someone recently when they were like, oh, I've written a book, and I was like, and they were like, no, I'm being serious. I was like, oh shit, yeah, okay, cool. And they were like, it takes you to another level, because now you're an author, and you can start claiming that you're an author, and you hang out with other authors, and it's like a fantastic marketing activity. So who knows?
But I feel like it's always been a fantasy of mine to be a writer. Like, it just seems cool, man. You're like chilling, you have like your cup of tea, you're writing,
bet you
you've got
do
like
it
a
on a
nice like
typewriter
shed
as well.
in the
Authentic, I feel like.
I am old school in everything that I do, so
Or it's
what
like-
could happen?
Don't find that.
Like with self-help books as well, and like maybe self-help, like when people are like writing, people come out of Love Island, they're like 19, writing about their life. I'm like, big man, what life?
Talking about,
What is going on here?
Yeah.
I think Timo wrote it. He put a LinkedIn post out the other day when he was like, "We've got teenagers that are being life coaches now," and it's like, and it's a similar fashion where I'm like, right, when it comes to that aspect of stuff, like, like unless it's episode 1 of like 50. I don't think I've experienced enough in life yet to truly be reflective.
For sure. Okay, last one. Most likely to have a reality TV show.
To have one.
To be like, I guess like the main star. Like the
Fabio's
reality
life
TV
or
show is
something.
around that. Yeah. But like maybe that was a giveaway, Dre. I don't know. Right, are we ready?
Yeah. 2, 1.
I want to say Thierry.
I think
I think Thierry too.
I don't know.
People love you, handsome, gravitating people. You will organise it, be like, Melly, you're great with the camera, you got to get the people
I've been
in.
production, definitely, but front of camera, probably not. I just think it's such a toxic way of thinking about it. I just think I've seen too many examples of how, like, as British people who consume like content and media, we build someone up so much just to
So
like
true.
Facts.
It's so
like
true.
Will Smith, anyone, all that. Do you know what I mean? We build them up so much just to punch them,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm all right for that. I'm good. I'm all right for
I hear
it.
that. It would be entertaining to watch.
Yeah, but I'd definitely love to direct something.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I'd love to direct something.
Well, you can
that
direct
was
my
sick.
show.
Let's
There
do
we
it.
go.
Let's go.
There we go. I love that, and I think
Fun.
that's a gorgeous note to end on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thierry, so
No,
much
thank you for
your
having
time
me.
today.
It's a pleasure.
We really, really appreciate it. Obviously, we're going to plug our channels, so follow us at Viaduct Generation on LinkedIn, at Viaduct Gen, Instagram, and at Viaduct_Gen on Twitter. What do you want to plug, Thierry?
Just at Thierry Allen. I say Allen, that's such an English word. Thierry Allen.
Okay.
Come on now.
Leave it up. Just on all social channels. And also, journey further. Check us out. Got an awesome book club. I think you'd all appreciate self-help type business books as well. So have a little look at that.
For sure. And I definitely want to thank Jenny further for having us in these
Thank you very
offices, for lending us their incredible equipment,
Yes.
all of that, helping setting us up. we'll definitely return the favour.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Thierry.
No, thank you for coming
cheers.
down. I really appreciate you guys making the time as well. It's fun. That's why I
you
was like,
so
when you guys were like, "Oh, are you coming down from thingy?" I was like, "Yeah." we tried to redo it just over Zoom. I was like, "Nah." It doesn't have the same vibe.
It's true. It's true. And you kick off our next season where we will have like guest videos on the podcast. So that's cool.
Good.
So thank you.
Yippee.